Hi folks, this is Karim Raouf from our IT Visualizer channel. We will continue our lab, the Terminator Labs. This is the video number 48. We have been discussing in the previous video the following. We have been working now for 26 videos on how to deploy Windows 10 using the latest Microsoft Deployment Toolkit with the help of the Windows Deployment Services server role feature. So we have discussed almost everything related to this topic. We have discussed how we can capture a Windows operating system image with all of its programs using the MDT, and the same for the deployment. We have seen how we can deploy a Windows 10 captured image with all of its programs using the MDT, the different processes or the different process that can be done through the MDT so that the capture and the deployment process can be a zero touch installation process or light touch installation process or user driven installation process. We have discussed the three things, or we have discussed the three processes. We have seen in action two of them, the zero touch installation process and the light touch installation process. There's the user driven installation process. This is a manual process. All of the capture and deployment process need the interaction of the user. As for the light touch, some of the capture and deployment process are automated and some need the interaction of the user. As for the zero touch installation, capture process or deployment process, it is fully automated. So you will see a fully automated capture process and a fully automated deployment process. We have discussed all of these topics. We have discussed almost everything related to this topic, the deployment of different operating systems using the MDT and the WDS. Although we have covered a lot of things related to this topic, but the development in this field, especially in the deployment field using the MDT, is moving very quickly, and there is a lot of updates related to this topic. One of these updates are two new modules that are created for the deployment process. So, for example, one of these updates is the PSD MDT module, or what is known as PowerShell deployment module through the MDT. This is a module that is installed on the MDT that will enable you to set up the MDT on the cloud and use it for deployment. So you will install MDT on the cloud like AWS or Azure, and this will help you to deploy through the cloud. Okay, so this is the first, or this is the first update. This module will help you to deploy a lot of machines through the cloud. This is very, very useful because this means that you can access the MDT server from any place around the world because it is on the cloud. The PSD module depends on the HTTP and HTTPS for communication between the MDT and the clients. Okay, the normal MDT or the regular MDT depends on the SMB protocol to communicate between the clients and the server. And basically the MDT is on premise, or most of the MDT deployments are on premise or between branches. If you have a VPN, for example, if you have main branch and branches, you can use the MDT if you have a VPN. But the PSD module will help you to go to the to another step, or to go one step up that you can, or one step further that you can use the MDT through the cloud to deploy different operating systems. This is something similar to Microsoft Intune, but the methods are different. They are using different methods, but it is like Microsoft Intune. And we will see later that we can make a comparison between the MDT and Microsoft Intune to see who is better in the cloud deployment. Most of us use the Microsoft Intune, but this is used in certain circumstances, and the MDT also is used in another different circumstances. So let's go and see what is the PSD deployment or MDT deployment module. This is the first new thing that is related to the MDT, and it's not that new, but I didn't actually face or didn't know this module exists before recording the video. And another one important update is the OSD cloud module. This is a PowerShell module that depends on one of the main components of the MDT, which is the ADK, it depends on it to build a deployment through the cloud. So the OSD cloud, basically, you don't need to have any infrastructure. You don't need to have an MDT server. You don't need to have a WDS server. Just some scripts that will be put on a DVD or on a flash and then inserted in a virtual machine or inserted in a PC that doesn't have anything, doesn't have any operating system, doesn't have anything. It is only connected to the internet. So this flash will boot and then it will go to the internet and then it will let you choose the operating system to install, and then all of the regular things of the installation will be done automatically for you. Uh, Partitioning the hard disk, doing the different setup tasks through or the setup Windows task. This will all be done through scripts that will automate this process. So this is basically OS Cloud, that you can deploy an operating system in an automated way, okay, through the internet and without having any infrastructure. It is just putting some scripts. These scripts are on a flash and it will communicate with the Microsoft website and let you choose the operating system to install, and then the scripts on the flash will format the hard disk as you like and will can make some unattended installation as you like. Everything will be done through the scripts. So this is basically a very good solution if you don't have an MDT or have MDT server or WDS server, or in a small work group or in a small branch. This is very useful uh, operation to do. So we will discuss these two processes in details. So let's go first and see what is the PSD module, or where it is and how we can install it. First of all, this is done by a couple of contributors. This is their website. You can, or this is the GitHub uh, location for them, or GitHub partition for them, or the GitHub section for them. This is Friends of MDT, and this is the module. You can download it from this section, download the zip file. This contains all of the things that we need to install this module on the MDT, and this is the PowerShell module that will install the PSD module on the MDT. So this is the first thing. We need to go and download uh, the files that will install the PowerShell deployment extension kit. And these are some of the updates. It was updated September 2022, and these are the updates: new wizard, better disk handling, extended logging, performance improvements, code cleanup, support for driver packages in WIM format, server-side logging, support via bits upload. Okay, many late nights and days are resulted in a much better solution. So we can see here, this is a little bit of an explanation. What is the purpose of this module? Is to create a new deployment solution that provides the same level of automation as MDT, but built on a more modern framework. It is the PowerShell, or the PowerShell modules. So all of the scripts that the regular MDT module use are mostly Microsoft, oh, sorry, Windows script files or VBS, Visual Basic Scripts. So this module doesn't depend on these two script types to deploy. It depends upon the PowerShell for the deployment. The major components and functionality are built on PowerShell alone, but still leverage the MDT workbench and layout. Okay, this module depends on PowerShell to implement scripts to deploy or to automate the deployment and capture process. This doesn't mean that it will not accept the Visual Basic scripts or the Windows script files, but it is basically depend on the PowerShell scripts. You can still use the VBS scripts or the WSF scripts. The goal is to support deployment shares using PSD extensions as well as legacy MDT deployment shares. We will see that we will create a folder for the PSD. We'll make a folder named PSD production. This will contain all of the scripts and all of the ISO images for the deployment or capture process. Okay, the same as we have done in the regular MDT when we made a capture share folder, and the deployment share folder. Supported deployment scenarios include deployment from the following content repositories: IaaS over HTTPS. So this will work on HTTPS, so you need to have a web server service. We will install it, and you can use HTTPS, but again you can uh, increase the speed of the deployment using bits and branch cache. So these are two services that will help us to improve the speed of the deployment, because if you are using the cloud to deploy machines, then that means that we will pay for every downloaded uh, bits or bytes. You know that everything through Azure or through AWS, the communication, there is a price. If you are downloading something from Azure or AWS, there is a price for downloading. So you need to be, or to decrease the cost of downloading through the Azure cloud or through the AWS. This can be done using bits and branch cache. We have already installed branch cache before. Uh, Daniel Bravo Barbarius have already added this option to the server, but there is still some configuration that need to be done when we install the PSD extension on the MDT, so we can use the branch cache and use it to decrease the cost of the deployment. Okay, so here we can see that these are the major contributors: is Elas Marcus, George Simmons, and Dick Tracy. All of these are the ones that has already done this module, and they have a lot of very useful scripts. You can go to their GitHub and see section and see the wonderful scripts that they use. So this is basically what is the PSD module, and we will begin explanation it step by step, or also we'll have some things to discuss concerning this module. We can have a brief about the OSD cloud. This is another solution we will discuss later. It is a solution for deploying Windows 10, 11 over the internet using PowerShell module. But this module are some scripts and some you need the ADK. Depends on the ADK. This works by booting to WinPE, where the OS disk is wiped and partitions. Once this is complete, the Windows operating system is downloading from Microsoft Update using CRL. So it will go and download the operating system from the internet live. You will see that live before finally being staged, expanded on the OSD disk or on the local client. Drivers packs are from Lenovo, Dell, HP, are downloaded directly from each of the manufacturers, where they are installed in WinPE or in the Windows specialized phase. For computers that do not have a driver pack, hardware drivers are downloaded from Microsoft Update website. This should work on just about any computer model out there. Full instructions, so and so. We will discuss the instructions in detail, but first we need to see or to begin talking about the PSD module. So this is basically the two things we will discuss in the upcoming videos: the PSD module and the OSD cloud module. If you need to see the references or the things that I have got this, or the videos that I have studied and analyzed to talk about these modules, we will see, for example, this is the first video concerning installing PowerShell MDT module from the deployment research YouTube channel. This is John, something called, a guy named Jonathan. He is talking about how we can use the PSD or to install the PSD module on the MDT. This is the first thing. And then we have, for the OSD cloud, we'll have another two videos. But before that, as for another video discussing the PSD, this is a channel called Festive Tech Calendar. This is talking about the PSD module and the OSD cloud together, the two. Okay, so you can also see this video for more reference. As for the SD cloud, we can see there is Cloud Manager Community. This is the channel. It's talking about OSD cloud. Okay, this is the first video, and this is the second video. He's talking about OSD cloud deployment. So this is basically all of the videos I used as a reference. So let's begin and talk about what is the PSD module. Let's have a look here. Here we see that PSD is an extension to Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, adds HTTPS support for imaging add WIM support for drivers, add support for peer-to-peer via branch cache. This will increase the speed of the deployment. So it will use peer-to-peer protocol support, or it will add peer-to-peer support to the branch cache. Okay, and you can download it from the website or the GitHub section that we have referred to earlier. Okay, so what is the difference between this PSD module and the regular MDT module? We can see there is another slide saying that the MDT, they have the same, there is a deployment share and there is a deployment share folder. The engine or the scripts work with WSF and VBS. WSF is the Windows script file scripts, and VBS is the Visual Basic scripts. These are based, or deployment or automation is based on these scripts. Okay, as for the PSD, it works on PowerShell. Okay, this is the second difference. As for the communication done between the client and the server, we use SMB protocol, or secure management protocol. This is basically, we can see MDT as a file server because this is the main protocol used during or on a file server. Okay, here we use HTTP and HTTPS, and we will see that we are using HTTPS. Will create a certificate to secure the connection, because the HTTPX will not work unless we have a certificate. Okay, and of course this will use SSL, so we'll use SSL and the certificate to use the HTTPS protocol. Okay, this is more secure than this one. Okay, I think you can use SMB version 2, for example, if you are concerning about security, but this is more secure. Okay, this is free and this is free. Add WIM support for drivers, so you can, through using the WIM extension, you can compress a lot of drivers and put it in a WIM format. This will help you to deploy more drivers, and it will be easy to deal with the WIM instead, or to dealing with WIM instead of using other compression extensions. Okay, add supports peer-to-peer branch cache. So this is basically the difference between the two modules, the normal MDT module and the PSD MDT module. Okay, so this is basically the differences. Let's see another thing here. Let's see what are the main contributors. Here we can see this is Elias Marcus, this is the one that I've seen, Dick Tracy, George Simmons, and Michelle Nailstorm. This was not added to the GitHub, but anyway, these are the main contributors. And another thing, I asked George Simmons a question: what if I need to use VBS and WSF scripts in the PSD module? If this is available, he told me yes, you can use it. We do not prohibit using these scripts through the PSD module, but we depend mostly on the PowerShell. And you can use any Visual Basic script through the PSD module. Because, for example, I need to pause the task, or I need to have a script to pause the task. So I asked him how I can do this through the PowerShell. He told me that you can do this through a Visual Basic script or through a PowerShell script. And he gave me, let me show you guys also, because this is a very important question. Here is the question I asked George Simos. He tell me that we don't block running VBS scripts, although the whole premise of the solution is to move away from them and embarrass PowerShell. You can create a pause script, so I need to pause a task. This can be used, or can be done using a script, and it add it whenever you want in the task sequence. Here is a nice solution that applies PSD MDT as well as pause a build task sequence using PowerShell. So this, you can use a PowerShell script to pause the task sequence, and here is the steps that how you can do it. Okay, you can see that and apply this script. So this is another thing, and this was very quickly. He asked and replied to my response very quickly. So thank you, George Samos, for your cooperation. So this is basically I think even when I use the PSD model, it is very fast, and there is a lot of improvement over the normal MDT module. So let's go and continue and see what are the requirements of the PSD. PSD, you need to have a VM with MDT and ADK. We have already the MDT added. We have the ADK installed. You can add it to the Azure or Amazon. This is It can be cloud imaging or on-premise, so you need to have the server that have MDT and ADK, 2 to 4 processors, and to have the RAM of 4 to 8 gigabyte RAM, port 443 open for HTTPS because we will use HTTPS protocol for communication. For optional monitoring feature, open 9800 and 9801 port for monitoring the deployment process or the capture process. So these are the PSD requirement. There is another thing we can do, or here this group of contributors give us a very good thing. If you don't have, for example, let's go to this section. If you don't have all of these things, there is a script that they have put on their website that will install or do all of the steps for installing MDT and ADK. There is a script called hydration script. So let's go and let me show you the scripts here. Here there is a script called, let me go again. This is not the script. There is something called hydration. Let me see where are the documentation. Okay, there is something called hydration kit installation. While the native PSD script is used to either create a new or extend an existing MDT deployment share, it can also possible to use the hydration script on a new server to set up a complete PSD lab environment from scratch. So this will, let me show you what it will do. It will install the ADK, the MDT, source OS, source media application. So please review or validate and obtain following installation checklist items. So this Hydro kit, it will install. Let me see here what he's talking about. The hydration kit is a native. It's possible to use hydration script on the new server to complete PSD lab from scratch, fully automated. So this will do everything for you. Okay. So we can see here install PSD. Okay, this is the script. Install PSD, import, and so. So this is a script that you can use to automate the process of installation of the MDT and ADK. Anyway, so this is one of the things that you can use. Okay, so let's see another thing here. Let's see what we need to do. Okay, first of all, we need to go to the website and install the PSD module. This is the first thing. This can run on server 2016, 2019, or 2022. You need to have the ADK since 2004 to ADK 21H2. We have already installed this ADK. We have MDT installed. PSD supported deployments, only English version tested. Okay, so you can deploy or capture operating systems with English version. Okay, the supported versions are Windows Server 2016 Standard and Data Center, Windows Server 2019 Standard and Data Center, Windows Server 2022 Standard and Data Center. As for the client, you can deploy Windows 10 1909 Pro Education and Enterprise, and further Windows 11 2022 H2 Pro Education and Enterprise 64-bit. So you can deploy and capture most of the operating systems. So these are how to. Let's continue. After installing the ADK and MDT, you need to install other things. For example, we need to install the IIS, which is related how we need to install the web server service, because the MDT will act as a web server and we need to secure the connection using certificates. So we need to install a certificate authority server, and we need to install something called WebDAV configuration. It will help us to transfer files and change files from and to the web server. So this is basically very important, so we can modify files and create files and transfer files through the web server. And then we need to install the branch cache. We have already done this before, so we need to install, or we need to do the three things here. But basically, remember that we have the WSOS installed, so the IIS is installed already and the branch cache is installed already. We need only to add the CA certificate and to add the WebDAV configuration. As for the Microsoft Deployment Toolkit, it is already installed. We will add the PSD module only. Then we need to create a task. This is basically what we will do. We will make a capture task of Windows Server 2022, and we will add a couple of programs to be installed on this operating system, and we will do the same process that we have done in the normal MDT capture process. Play with the bootstrap.ini setting and the custom setting.ini. We will do, or we will play with these two things. Okay, so another thing to take note, that the tasks in the PSD are different. You will not see the same structure uh, that was in the regular MDT. So the regular MDT task, or any task in the regular MDT, you will see that it is divided to sections. The first section is the initialization section, then the pre-installation or the pre-install section, then the install section, then the post-install section, then the state restore section. We have about 4 or 3 phases. We have discussed them in details. In the PSD task sequence, we have only 2 things: the install section, or we have initialization, then install operating system, then setup operating system. Okay, then custom task. So we don't have all of these phases. We have the installation phase, which basically formatting the partition and doing partitioning and formatting the hard disk. Then begin the installation of the operating system, and then we have the setup. The setup maybe include Windows updates, include installing additional programs. All of this will be done in the setup process. Okay, so this is basically, there is different structure here. We will not see the same structure as in the normal MDT tasks. Okay, so this is basically we need to focus on. And you can see here, for example, that set branch cache, it is in the task, and this we need to take full consideration to it, because the branch cache will not be applied unless we have this step in the task. It's not only installing the branch cache option on the server. We need to add, okay, some steps, or we need to configure additional steps to the branch cache will be installed. Okay, and this will be done in 2 phases in the task. We will see also this. There is something like documentation. How can we install the branch cache? Okay, so all of the tasks we will use the branch cache, and again, to do that, there is another documentation. If we go here, we can see how we can install the branch cache. For example, here, if you go there, here this will be done, or the branch cache will be installed or will be configured on the PSD module using something called SD toolkit. So this is a toolkit that it is downloaded with the PSD module. You need to run it, so it will enable the branch cache on the PSD module. Basically, you need to install the feature that this we have done before, and then after installing or after adding the feature, we need to run the OSD toolkit. This is already downloaded with the PSD module, and then we need to add a couple of lines, or we need to add a couple of things on the custom setting.ini. This will be done, or this will be added to the custom setting.ini. We will, when we go to the custom setting.ini, we will see that it will be some lines added in the custom setting.ini, and we need to check the steps in the task. Okay, we need to see the task, or we add a couple of lines to the task. We will see that, don't worry guys, when we go and create the task we will see. But here is the steps how to enable the branch cache through the PSD module. Okay, so let's continue here. So here, this is the last thing here. This is the tasks and everything. So let me show you, or how we can install the PSD. So first, the first thing, if we go to this section, the first thing we need to do is to go and download the files. So let's go and to our video and see how we can begin the working with the PSD module. Let's go and see. First of all, we need to close all of these things. Okay, okay, and okay. And then let's close all of these things. Again, let's close all of the close all windows. And by the way, here we will, what we will do, we'll make a capture task. but through the PSD module. We will repeat the same capture task we have done before in the regular MDT module. We will do that again, but through the PSD module. So we will make a capture task for the Windows Server 2022 Standard Edition. So let's go and see how this will be done. Let me see how much time we have. We have 30 minutes. So let's see here. We'll open the Oracle VM VirtualBox. Okay, now we'll open the primary domain controller. And we will open the MDT server. So now I have already downloaded the file or the PSD installation files from the friends of MDT, and then I will begin installation of the PSD module. First we need to log in. This is the domain admin account. So here we will open a PowerShell because we need to install the PSD module on the MDT using the PowerShell. Okay, so we'll open a PowerShell window, run as administrator, and then we go to the downloaded PSD module installation files folder and then run a script called install.psd. Okay, so let's see how we need or how we can install the PSD module. First, we can go to our shared folder between the guest and the host. The files are called, let me go, it's called PSD master. Okay, so the file is called PSD master. This contains all of the installation files for the PSD module. So we'll copy it, and this is the installation command. So we will run a script called install PSD, and we'll tell him we need to make a deployment folder in the MDT named PSD production. This will, in this folder, it will install all the PSD module scripts and everything related to the PSD module. And we will see that folder in our MDT console. Okay, so this is basically the folder, and we will share it as PSD production. So this is basically creating another deployment folder, but in the PSD module named PSD production. So let's see what we will do or what will happen after running this script. So I'll paste the folder here. Okay, and then we need to go to this folder through the PowerShell. So we will change directory and go to the ePartition PSD master folder, and then we will run the script install.psd. This is the one that we need to run. So we'll copy the path and then tell him to change directory to go to this path and run this PowerShell script. cd change directory. Okay, and then tell him dir to list the to list the files in the this folder. Here I'm changing the driver from the D partition to the E partition. And then we can copy the installation command, or right click and paste, and then press enter. Here we can see after running this command, we will open the MDT console and we will see what happened. We will see that there is another deployment folder added. Okay, so here he has created the folder. This folder was not created before. You should not create the folder. It will create the folder automatically for you. Here we can see that it is creating a folder named PSD production. This is a deployment share folder. Initialize a new deployment share, installing scripts and tools. So you will see everything. Here we can see that it is installing the PSD module. We will see after installing this module, we will see the differences between it and the normal MDT module. Here we can see that the deployment share e-production has been opened successfully. Let's see after finishing what happened. So here we have finished. Let's open the MDT console and see what happened now. Okay. First of all, the main difference that we will see that the scripts in the PSD module are all PowerShell scripts. Okay, if we go there, if we go to the PSD production, here we can see the PSD production, and then if we go to the scripts, we will see that all of the scripts are not VBS or WSF. All of the scripts are PS or PowerShell scripts. This is the main difference between the PSD MDT module and the normal MDT module. If we go and check the other normal MDT folders, we will see that all of the scripts are VBS and WSF. Okay, let me show you all. If you go, for example, back or up, and then see the scripts in the capture share folder, for example, and let me go further here. Sorry, again. If we go, no, sorry guys, let me go a little bit further. So these are the scripts in the PSD module. Let me show you the normal scripts in the normal MDT module. If you go there and go to the scripts, if you go to a normal MDT folder, you will see that all of the scripts are VBS or WSF. Okay, so these are the scripts in the normal MDT module. In the PSD module, it is different. Okay, it's all PowerShell. Okay, so what can we do now? Now we can open our MDT console and we will see another or a third folder created called PSD production. This is the thing. We can see it have the same options, but the task sequences are different in structure. Okay, so let's continue working with the PSD. We need to create a capture task in the PSD module. So what we need to do now, we need to have two things configured. We need to configure the custom setting.ini in the PSD module and the bootstrap.ini in the PSD module. And we will see there is some differences in the bootstrap file in the PSD module and the custom setting.ini in the PSD module. Let's see, here I have saved already these configurations. Let me open, or let's open the bootstrap.ini and see what it is the difference between it and the normal bootstrap. So this is the bootstrap for PSD. Okay, if we can open it, we can see here that there is some differences. In the normal MDT, you will see it is pointing to the folder that contains the scripts and the ISO images and everything related to the deployment or capture process. Here it is pointing to a website. Okay, so this is the main difference in the bootstrap.ini. It will redirect you to a website or a URL that contains the folders, not to directly it will redirect you to a folder. No, these are folders on a web server. So this makes you able to use MDT on the cloud. And the same, we have username and passwords, so you can access the folders using MDT build, a user active directory user. And then the same, skip welcome BBD, the same, it will skip the welcome welcome screen for our the bootstrap welcome screen. And PSD restart mode native and PCE bug no, these are some variables you can check and know what they do from their website. If you go there and check the friends of MDT, if you go there and try to see the documentation, for example, it will give you what does these things do exactly. If you go to the PSD, you will see a lot of things here. You will see what is the meaning of native, classic, modern. So all of these are explaining the different structure for the PSD module. The scripts that are included in the PSD module, for example, supported variables in bootstrap.ini, okay, custom setting, okay, so you can go to the documentation and see the different things or what are the different variables and what they do exactly, okay. You can check the documentation section here, okay. So as we can see here, this is simply the bootstrap.ini. It is pointing to a website, not to a normal folder, okay. So we will copy these and then paste it in the bootstrap.ini. We will see even the custom setting in the PSD module is a little bit different. We will not see the same structure as we have dealt with in the normal MDT module. First of all, we go to the properties, okay, and then we need to change the bootstrap.ini. We will do the regular configuration that we have done before. We have done before in the normal MDT modules. We will play with the Windows PE boot environment. We will change the scratch size. We have done this before. We will choose the WinPE 64-bit version. We will not use the 86 version or 68 version. This is 64, okay, and then we need the scratch size to be. We have discussed this before, every option of these, 2, 512, and then we add features. We need to add the dism commands and the net frame, okay, and PowerShell module. So we have done this before, okay, when we created the MDT capture and deployment share folders, okay. Driver and patches, we will not add any drivers. Actually, I have mistaken and added Lenovo drivers. This is a capture process. We don't need to have any drivers captured, okay, for any model, okay. So these are the features and so on, so on. And then we need to enable the monitoring, this deployment share, okay, and then we need to begin working with the bootstrap.ini and the custom setting.ini. We need to go to the rules. This we can see here that the custom setting are different. We will discuss this in a moment, but let's go and edit the bootstrap.ini. So we need to, these are default settings. Need to tell you something, guys, here. We will copy this setting, okay. Need to do something here. If you see any line and there is dot and comma, then this means that it is not working. It's like putting a window or putting something, or this means this line will not be processed, okay. So take care of that, okay. So now we need to change the setting. This will point to our, we will do this web server or we will do this URL later, but you need to change the setting. As for the custom setting.ini, we can see that there is a different structure here. The PSD wizard, you can go to their website and see what is the PSD wizard, the classic theme, and this is the name of the task, okay, and the log of or the domain user account and password, time zone, if it is a worker group, the keyboard layout, the keyboard language layout, skips final summary, no, finish action, none if you need to make a restart or shutdown, hide shell, no, admin password or the local admin password. So this is differently or basically the same as the normal MDT custom setting.ini, but more shortened, okay. So we will go and add the custom setting.ini that we have already prepared before. So all of these files, I will put it in a Google Drive link. You can use them, okay. So we'll copy these files. We can see that the time zone, it is Egypt Standard Time. So we will copy all of these and put it in the custom setting.ini. So this is basically we are preparing the PSD module. So we have done the custom setting.ini, the bootstrap.ini, We have created the deployment or the PSD folder. We need to create a task after that, and then after that we need to have this folder accessed through a web server, or to make a link or URL to access this folder. We will see that in a moment, but don't worry, let's take it step by step. So I think now we have finished everything. We can see here OS install means yes, it will install the OS, and we have everything working. So here we need to, what we need to do here, we need to add the application. So we'll create a capture task. We need to add the applications, okay, because we will create a task. Let me stop here and let me see how much time we have. So we have already installed the PSD module and do the basic settings, but we need here to prepare our capture process. We need to add applications, we need to add the operating system, we need to add the drivers. So let me see how much time we have. I think we have 46 minutes. So can we continue? Okay, we can continue until we have 1 hour. So we will add applications. We will go and add the same thing here. So we will add applications. We will add the same applications that we have in the normal MDT capture process. We need to have the Windows Server installed on it, the CM Trace, the .NET Frame, the Visual Studio, and the Visual C++. So we will create folders and then we will do the same. So basically we'll repeat the same process of the capture. Here we can see, for example, in the capture normal MDT, we have these programs. We need to do the same in the PSD. So one can tell me you can copy them, but actually I was not sure if this will work, because I think they are working in different standards, or they're working with scripts or different scripts. Anyway, so I prefer to do it the manual way. You can copy it and see if there is anything will happen. Now we are creating the folders. We need to install the Microsoft Edge, the CM Trace, the .NET Runtime. So we have the Microsoft Edge. Okay, we have all of the things created. We have the image state. So this is a script that will reset the PC to prepare it for sysprep process. Okay, so we will put the image state reset. The same, we have done the same process before, but here we are creating the folders, and then we will begin importing the programs. Okay, PowerShell. Okay, PowerShell 7, we need to install the PowerShell 7. So I will not repeat the same process again, guys, but we need to I will do one or two and then we will run quickly. We will not go on the process again because we have done this before. Okay, so we have the PowerShell, and then we have the Visual Studio or Visual C++. Okay, we need to have or to point to the folder that contains the CM trace. We have already done this before. So the name of the company, the name of the program, the version of the program, the language of the program. Okay, Microsoft Corporation, for example, this is the CM trace. We have the name as Configuration Manager Trace Log Tool or CM Trace. So we'll do that. And we need to do the version or the version of the program and put it here, and then the language. And then here we can use the script, by the way, but here we need to, something here need to be very, very clear about this. We need to add, okay, we can use WScript, so you can still use the VBS, and we can do that. You can add this thing, okay, or it can run visual or Windows scripts, okay, it can work. So this still can work on the PSD module, okay, so don't worry about that. This is the command line, and then there is the location of the folder, which is so and so. Copy, and then next, and then next, then finish. We need to change the name. We have done this before. Okay, this is the short name, cmtrace. Apply and OK. Okay, we'll do the net frame. Actually, this is the last one. I will not go further with the rest, but I need to show you something here. This is the .NET frame, or .NET, sorry, .NET runtime. We will do the same. We will add the company, the application, the version, the language. Okay, we'll do the same. We will add the language. Okay, next. And then the command. Control C. And Control V, and then the working folder. Okay, next. So we need to do something here, guys. This folder, or the PSD deployment folder, we need to see the permissions on this folder, because we need to add a couple of users and give them permissions on the folder. Remember, we have mdt.build folder. We need to have it access to this shared folder to ease the deployment process. So we can see here, for example, that the share permissions, if we go to the permissions section, we can see that everyone has a change and administrators has full control. We need to add the domain admins, we need to add the MDT build user that is responsible for the deployment and capture process, and we need to add the system and give it full control. So we need to add domain admins, give them full control, MDT build, give it full control, and the system. This will be done in the SMB permissions and the security or NTFS permissions. And we can leave everyone, because I don't know actually if this will do any damage. Okay, so I leave it, and then we can see, or you can remove. I do not recommend that. Anyway, we will leave it. We will add a couple of users and give them permissions. So we'll add that MDT build, and we will have the domain admins. Okay, we will give the MDT build full control, and then we will add the domain admins system. Okay, even though I do not recommend this, but Daniel, Brother Barbaris have done this before, so we can add system. Okay, and give it full control, and then we can add domain admins, and then give them full control. So we'll do that. Okay, domain admins. Okay, administrators full control. Domain admins should have full control. System. Everyone. Domain admins should have full control. Okay, we will add full control. Apply and OK. So everything seems working. We need to add the same users, but through the NTFS permissions. Okay. Okay, apply and OK. Then we go to the security. okay, and add the same users and give them the same permissions. Okay, you can add multiple groups or users through adding dot comma. Domain, not domain users, domain admins. This should be changed. And system, okay, so we can check all of them. We need to change the domain users, okay. We need to remove them. This is not domain users, domain admins, okay, build. We need to remove that, and then the domain or the MDT to build, we need to have it full control. And then add the domain admins. Okay, check, and here you go, we give it full control. And then we can return back to our applications and continue the couple of programs we have, but I will not go through the details. We have done this before. So now we have our permissions working, so we do not need to worry about any problems during the deployment or during the capture. Okay, so I have the sharing. I think I am double checking. Okay, so we have everything working. Okay, so now we can continue, or we need to go and begin or continue adding the applications. If you go there, we can go quickly. So we have finished. We can PowerShell. So now the last one is the PowerShell. Okay, and here we go. Now what we need to do, we have already done the last program. We need to add the operating system. So this is one thing. We need to add the Windows Server operating system. Okay, this is the task we will do later, but first we need to add the operating system. The first thing we need to do, we need to log in, and then here we add the Windows Server and then import the operating system to this module. Okay, and then after that we'll create a capture task. Okay, so we'll log in. Okay, we can log in back. Okay, so here again, okay, one thing. Here we need to go to the operating system, and then we'll create a couple of folders. We put it as Windows Server, and then we'll create a task for capturing Windows Server. We will not discuss the task, but we only need to create it, and then the upcoming video will begin, with God will, we will begin creating the task. So first we need to create a folder, Windows Server, and then standard, and then 21 H2. Okay, so next, then finish, and then we will make another folder, 21H2. Then need to import the operating system, finish. Okay, then we can import the operating system. This is from the DVD. Next, source files, here you go. Okay, next. Okay, this is the standard. This contains all of the versions of Windows. We need to only leave the standard GUI or the graphical interface, not the core. Okay, we need to leave it. So we will pause. Okay, then finish, and then we can remove the DVD. Okay, I think it's a little bit hanged anyway, so we will pause the video and then return back after this is finished. Okay, so here we will remove everything and leave the standard. So we leave, or we remove the data center Okay, everything we need to remove the data center and the core, so we leave only the server standard. Okay, and remove everything and change the name. Next, next, and then finish. We need to change the name. So this, okay, this will take some time. So we'll change the name. This is basically to make everything clear. Okay. So now we have everything working. You can, I do not prefer to add out of the box drivers. Here I am adding the Lenovo drivers. This should not be done with the capture process. This drivers should be added in the deployment process. We don't need our image to include certain drivers, okay, because this will be a general image that will be deployed to different server types. So we should not do this step. Anyway, this can be done in the deployment process, okay? So take that into consideration. Do not do this step, or do it in the deployment phase, not in the capture phase, okay? So we have Windows PE, and then here we can add the Lenovo drivers. Okay, we can see here we'll add Lenovo drivers, but this in the deployment, as we can see in the deployment, not in the capture phase. Okay, next. So anyway, this is step you should not do it, guys, with the capture. You can do it with the deployment, as I've said before. Finish. Then we can import the drivers normally. Here I need to go and have the drivers of the Lenovo copied and import it. Okay. So here I need to go to my guest folders and copy the Lenovo drivers and paste it there to import it. Okay, we go to the MDT lab, and then we go to the files, and then go to the prerequisites, and then we have the WinPE drivers. We have the Lenovo, copy and paste it, and then import it, paste. This will take some time. So now we can go and import the drivers. Right click and import. Then we can import the drivers. And then next. Then next. So now we have everything almost complete. We need then to create a task, okay, or a capture task. Okay, so this will be the last step we should do, and we will stop at creating the task because this will take some time. So we need to make sure everything is working. We need here to tell him to include a selection, or we need to do tell him to take the Lenovo drivers here, but this we should have in the advanced configuration. We need in the selection, or to do a selection profile, okay, to choose uh, certain drivers or certain driver packages. Okay, so Lenovo, okay, then we need to point to our Lenovo drivers. Here we go. Then next, then next. Okay, then finish. Then we can go and tell him to choose from the selection. Okay, we can go to the WinPE 64-bit and then choose from Lenovo. Okay, from the selection. Okay, so now we have everything almost complete. We need to create a task for the capture. So here we'll see a little bit different. We'll not see the same tasks that are in the normal MDT. If you tell him to create a task, first we need to create a folder and name it server capture or server capture. Okay, the next, and then we can create or right click and tell us to create here the task sequence. We will name it as we need, server cap, for example. And by the way, you can upgrade your normal MDT module to the PSD module. So this can be upgraded, but here I prefer to leave both the normal MDT and the PSD MDT side by side. So if you need to apply this or you need to apply this, okay? But this can be upgraded, okay? So this is one thing to note, okay? So server standard cap 2022, then we tell him next. And then here we will see the templates. Here we will see some changes. We will see here that these are the normal tasks. Here are added two new tasks, PSD standard client task and PSD standard server task. We need to choose the PSD standard server task, and you will see that there is some differences in the tasks themselves. They are divided into completely different sections, not the same as the normal MDT standards sections. Okay, so we need here to choose the ISO image. We will not put the product key. Here is some things. The local administrator password, we do not provide it because it is already in the custom setting.ini section, and confirmation. And then we can now stop at this moment, or let me first open the task and show you all the differences. Or here, if you open the task sequence, we will stop at that section. We can see here that there is completely different sections than the normal MDT task sequence sections. We can see there is initialization, install operating system, setup operating system, custom tasks. This is not the case in the normal MDT. In the normal MDT, you have initialization, then pre-install, then install, then post-install, then state user restore, and then custom tasks. So these are different sets, or there is different sections. So I will stop at minute 42:51. We will continue configuring the task in the upcoming video. Hope this video informative for you all, and thank you all for viewing. Thank you so much.